You're listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast. Subscribe weekly for new episodes during Emmys and Oscar season, interviews with top awards contenders, and special monthly mailbag episodes. Email us at slugfests@goldderby.com. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to Awards Magnet. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. And Joyce, we have so much comedy to LOL about this week.
Real LOLs.
Great stuff on all our favorite shows. But we're going to start with some hot off the presses Emmy category changes and confirmations.
Well, you have an exclusive.
Yes, we broke an exclusive this week, Joyce. Caitlin Dever, The Last of Us star. We had discussed, is she going to be a supporting actress nominee or guest actress nominee, perhaps? And now she's campaigning as guest actress. We have it confirmed.
She is doing the opposite of what Allison Janney is doing.
Yes.
Because Allison Janney could go guest, but she's going supporting.
Right.
Caitlin Dever could go supporting, but she's going guest.
Yes, because we confirmed she's in less than 50% of the episodes, so she's eligible in both spots if she chose to do.
She has not maxed out of guest.
She has not maxed out of guest, and she'll be in guest. And I think that's a great decision. I was team guest Caitlin Dever since the second episode. I think she could win that category, frankly.
I think I can see the argument both ways for her in either category, but I think it makes more sense for her to go guest for season 2 based on the way her episodes have broken down this season, because it's like we got her in the first 2 episodes, and obviously 2 is her big one. I'm assuming that would be her submission since no one has seen the finale yet. And she's missing in the next 4 episodes, right? And then she's going to be back in the finale.
We assume she'll be in the finale.
And she'll be in the finale because it'll set up Abby in season 3,
correct,
in which she'll be a bigger presence. So presumably she'll be in the finale. But either way, she's eligible for guest. And yeah, and like, so let's say she's not in the finale. So she's just in the first 2 episodes of the season. So by the time you reach the end of season 2, you there's so much more distance from her, and she really does feel like, you know, a true guest star, right? Whereas with Allison Janney, she comes into the Diplomat in the last 2 episodes of the season, and she's all over them. She has this killer monologue in the finale. There's this huge twist in the final minutes that sets her up for a big season 3, right? And then she really does feel like a supporting player.
Yeah.
In that sense, in those 2 episodes, you know? So I understand why both made the decisions they did. But obviously this also means that Caitlin would be facing off against Catherine O'Hara.
Yes.
Guess, who a lot of people have already pegged as the winner for The Last of Us.
Well, I don't think she'll get nominated, but I actually thought another issue for Caitlin in the supporting category is that Isabella Merced is fantastic and keeps getting better on The Last of Us. And so I think this further basically cements her as a potential nominee for The Last of Us. But I think Caitlin versus Catherine O'Hara, I think, is maybe not easier, but it's more winnable than Caitlin versus Isabella Merced. I don't know. I think it's.
Well,
I feel
mean, supporting is
now.
Also White Lotus. You know,
True.
that's a way tougher category.
True.
So
we'll see. I could see. I mean, Last of Us, I think, had 7 guest acting nominations in season 1 between guest actor and guest actress, and it could probably get to, I don't know, 6 or 7 again.
I mean, it could easily just land because it got 9 acting nominations total last time with no supporting at all, and this time they actually have supporting eligible people or people who can't go guest. You know,
right? Of that group, I think Isabella is the top of that list, and I would say depending on what happens in the finale, young Mazzino maybe could be a factor. Jeffrey Wright's still deciding, I guess, but he's eligible for guest. I think if he ran as a guest, that would be a smart decision.
It feels like he would be guest
because he's really only in that one episode that we watched this week, and then I don't know if he's in the finale, but he's not coming up again until the finale, I guess we could say. Josh Peck is a surprise guest nominee, maybe. His monologue was pretty great.
Are you going to stump for him now?
No, but I could see them getting, like you said, I think they'll add a supporting actress nomination and then maybe get 3 or 6 guest nominations, basically. Could happen.
I mean, Yeah, I think it's I mean, it's just a different makeup too, because I mean, last time both guest categories were just Last of Us and Succession. You know, they could hit all the regular categories this time, in supporting actress and supporting actor, because you also have Gabriel Luna.
Yes,
You know, so
it was great. So
and then assuming Pedro stays in lead, so they
I
get
do
hit
feel
all
like that's
four.
just not. I would be
Yeah.
shocked if he doesn't. I just don't see him moving out of lead, especially with 6 coming up. I think people are going to be like, "Oh my God, you got to have Pedro in lead." Like, doesn't
And
make
then
a lot of
they'll
sense.
move him back up. They'll be like, that's his tape.
Definitely. Before we get to comedy, Joyce, we had was it last week, 2 weeks ago? Ruth Negga gonna go lead for Presumed Innocent in limited series.
Just
And
kidding.
now, back to supporting.
Change their minds. So just right under the deadline, because we're recording this on Thursday, May 8th, which is the Emmy submission deadline. And then on Wednesday, a week after, Apple announced that Ruth was going lead for Presumed Innocent, they're like, actually, she's gonna go supporting.
Yes,
Like almost everyone expected her to.
and great. I'm in on that.
I think it's the right category for that performance in that show.
Yes. And then another Apple show is Your Friends and Neighbors, Joyce. Amanda
Your fave.
Peet, my
Your
fave,
fave.
initially maybe suggested she might go lead. Actually going supporting. Makes a ton of sense to me as a fan of the show. All right, well, we'll be back. We'll talk all about these. I guess, like you said, today, Thursday, May 8th here is the deadline. We'll have a further clarity into this next week.
Someone will leak something somewhere or announce something somewhere.
Maybe we will, Joyce.
I don't know.
You have to keep reading Gold Derby to find out. Let's do comedy, because it's been such a great week for comedy, Joyce. This was, until a couple of weeks, the biggest episode of Hacks to date.
Mrs. Table.
Love Mrs. Table.
I feel like I should, when I, do reservations at restaurants, I should use Mrs. Table now.
You just ordered some Branzino for the table.
Yeah. Does it travel well?
Plot-wise, this was a huge moment for Hacks, because I think fans had been like, when are Deborah and Ava gonna reconnect? And they finally do here in this episode.
Do we need to say spoiler alert for this? Are people
Oh my
gonna
God,
get mad?
are gonna get mad again?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Well, I don't think people care as much about the comedy.
No.
Ava and Deborah are not dead, so I think that helps. If you're going to yell at me about the spoilers here, please do, but I will direct... I don't... Last week, after we had a nice, thoughtful conversation, Joyce, about the spoilers, all the comments were, this is petty and pedantic, and I get it. I don't think we were trying to be petty and defensive. I was really trying to have a thoughtful conversation. I'm not going to do that again. I will note that Thunderbolts is actually the new Avengers, and people were mad.
That was great.
That
I love that so
they
much.
unveiled the spoiler the Monday after the release.
It was actually Sunday when they were changing the billboard. So
Sunday after they changed the billboard. I was like, is it? And people were mad that it's a spoiler. I'm like, if it's not, it's just the show or the movie. It is not a spoiler.
It's out already, and
Anyway,
again,
we don't need to do
people are
this
allowed
again.
to talk about it. So
Anyway.
and
Spoiler alert. I guess here, spoiler alert for Hacks if you haven't watched up to 6. Spoiler alert for the studio upcoming here too. And I guess spoiler alert for 4 seasons, because we could talk a little about that. It's been out for a week. So if you've not watched those shows,
this stuff is out. If you're listening to us, we're going to talk about it.
I don't want you to turn it off, because I love the listeners, but like, we're going to talk about this stuff. So if you're going to be nervous about finding out spoilers, I would try to come back after you watched. Now that they're all gone and it's just us who could spoil this stuff. So Ava and Deborah are back together finally at the end of this episode. Long awaited, Joyce.
Yes, and a very intense scene. Also, a great fake out, because so Ava goes missing. She has this meltdown because she's hit the wall with Deborah, who's just like running her roughshod with all her demands, and then her writers are just ordering Branzino on her dime. And getting gems put in on their teeth instead of coming into work. And she runs through the gate, and then she disappears and ends up at the beach. And Deborah tracks her down after a pep talk from Rosie O'Donnell, and then Barry almost getting mauled by a coyote.
Yes.
And then she runs into the ocean.
Yes.
I want to know, did you think that was actually Ava in the ocean?
No, I don't know. I guess maybe the show is really good at like not. The way they build the writing is so good. I think, and you'll like that you're sometimes misdirected, even though you know for sure it's not. Like I was like, there's no way this is Ava.
Yeah, I was like, that's definitely not Ava. I was like, I don't think they would do something, I don't know, as trite as this.
Yeah. So I was like, I wasn't sure. But again, at the same time, you're like, oh, maybe. I mean, like, it's like the possibility exists. I think that's all they're trying to do there.
Yeah.
Is keep the possibility alive.
But it wasn't Ava. It was
Ava.
A lady training
swimmer.
for the polar bear plunge. Yes. And then Ava's actually on the sand.
Correct.
And then they, get Deborah out of her soaking wet blue fur. I love that she didn't take off her fur before she went into the ocean. And then Deborah just begs Ava to come back and apologizes and says she promises she won't let her down. And Ava's like, I don't know if I can trust you because you always let me down. She's like, I promise I won't do that again. She's like, I set you up to fail. Like she's saying all the right things. And then she says like, you were like, I was wrong. You were right. Like, we can't do the show for them. We have to do it for us. We need to have fun. Like, who cares if we're always in last place?
Now, do you believe Deborah?
That's the question. That's
so what we gotta find out.
Ava accepts because she's like, I do need someone to make fun of Stacy with.
Yes.
And then she gets the Krug from her trunk from season 3, the finale.
Very nice. Very
nice moment there. So
good call.
Yeah, I know a lot of some fans have been, I guess, like disappointed with like their arc this season. They don't like that Deborah and Ava are still at odds, or they feel like the show is running in circles, which is funny to me because they're always at odds. Like
there is, I think, a critique of Hacks is the same one I would see of Succession also, which is like it's an entourage problem where it's like Vince got the movie, right? Like that's always been like the people who are like, I like Hacks, but it's like very much like the same stuff over and over again. I disagree on all those counts. I think like it's very reductive to what they're doing with the show. It doesn't feel like it's like repetitive at all. And I think like these flavors have been this season, especially in these first 6 episodes, they're still working together, right? And like you get to see like them trying to make the show a success. It's not like Deborah and Ava are not intentionally trying to fuck the show up, right? They're trying to actually make a good show within this awful relationship patch that they're going through.
Yeah, like they declared a truce. That doesn't mean like they're automatically going to be nicer to each other.
Yes.
Like they declared a truce for the sake of the show, right? Like they're trying to make the show work, and they have different ideas of what makes the show work, and that's why they are still clashing,
right?
Up until now. But like this has always been their relationship. Like they're fighting, but it's over different things every time, or new things every time, and that's how their relationship actually evolves. Like their relationship is not linear, and I think people want it to be linear.
Yeah. So now they're back, and we're into the back half of the season now. Another big episode, and we got 4 episodes left over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and next week is a twofer. Next week you get 7 and 8.
Yes, which having seen this show, Joyce, great choice, because I think together they work well. And I think if you just came off this episode with just one, people might be disappointed. So let me ask you this. One of the things when I was watching this episode, is this the broadest and maybe funniest Hannah Einbinder has ever been on this show?
Maybe. So when I watched it, because first they sent the first 6 screeners. So when I watched it, I was like, this would be a great tape for her, not knowing what the other 4 would be.
Do you still think that?
I think like this is definitely has the most comedy for her.
Absolutely hilarious.
To not give anything away.
In this I think this episode is definitely her funniest. And she's definitely also, it's also like the biggest, it's definitely she's great in this episode. So I think it works as if it's our episode, and if we want to lean into the comedy of it all, I think everything she does really well on the show in terms of comedy is like on display in this episode.
Yeah, because the first half is like she's doing the usual like Ava, like kind of like not people pleasing, but trying to just like make everything work shtick, and then like her frantically running back and forth between the writer's room and Deborah, the jokes, everything, and obviously the Branzino. It's great.
Branzino into the wall, so good. And the screaming, so good. Just wonderful, wonderful stuff. So funny.
And then Jean is obviously incredible throughout, but I would say she has better material coming up.
I was gonna say my take on this season. Love the show. I think it remains the best comedy show on TV. Maybe the best show on TV, I could argue at this point. Not as good as season 3, which is not a knock because I thought season 3 was like absolutely perfect. But this is the best that Jean has ever been on the show. I think every episode she's absolutely crushing it. And there's like a moment in the episode where you're like, oh man, Jean Smart's absolutely incredible. And I don't know how she can get better. And then the next episode she does something where you're like, oh my God, how does she keep getting better? Like it's so good.
I feel like that's just the case every single episode with her since the show started, right?
I don't know. Like, I feel like I just do think this season is like even better. I don't know. I found it like just remarkable.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like she's just better every single time there's an episode.
Yeah,
like since season 1,
it's like really good. So I was like, and Hannah is great too. If this ended up being her tape, I think that'd be really good. But yeah, it's just a great. I thought she's so funny in this episode. She really cracks me up, and her physical comedy remains really underrated, I would say.
I'll be curious to see what the reactions from fans are about them making their reconciliation.
I think people will be very excited because, like you said, I've seen people be like, "Oh, I want them. The show's better when they get together."
Yes.
The thing I was saying,
that's what Ava said, and when she confronted her in the finale, it's like, "Don't you get it? Like, we work better when we're together. The show will work when we're working together."
Yes. And but like I said, I like that this season has been them working together, if not together. You know what I mean? Like, I do think that's like a different flavor of this, whereas like season 3, they came back after a year apart. And so it's like, they're like, it is a different flavor of contention, but I do think their relationship is like really, I don't know. I just love this show so much. So it's just been great to watch.
And then you also see how like Deborah is evolving, right? Like she is actually conceding that she needs Ava, right? Like,
yes,
that she was wrong. And she's willing to do the show Ava's way, essentially,
right.
And not serve soap.
All she needed to do was talk to Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. What was the award called? The fake award, Courage and Comedy?
Courage and Comedy. I was going to say, is it Crystal Pepsi? What was the Crystal Pepsi
Pepsi
award?
Is the one that Rosie got.
Right. Okay.
The one that Deborah got was
Courage and Comedy.
Yeah.
Award. I love those kind
fake
of awards.
Yeah.
They're the best.
Uh-huh.
So that was Hacks, Joyce, remaining undefeated in my eyes as the season rolls on. And then the studio back at it this week, a season 2 renewal, which no kidding, because I just feel like they had no reason not to renew it for a second season. And Seth Rogen has openly talked about wanting to do a second season. And then this week was the Golden Globes episode, which they've been promoting since before the show even premiered.
Globes.
Yes.
And then, last week when we talked about the discourse around the studio and how it took a little dip.
Yes.
And, like after like episode 2, basically. But I think, especially, film Twitter wise, is back this week. Golden Globes. Yeah.
we knew, and we said this last week, we knew they would be, that the discourse would rebound. The last 3 episodes are really fun. The Golden Globes won a great tape for Ike Barinholtz. And I feel like if he gets in, this would between this and the war.
The war, yeah.
But man, Sal Saperstein winning the Golden Globes. Everyone on the Golden Globes here. Jean Smart, Jen Statsky, Ted Sarandos.
Ted Sarandos, Adam Scott. So it was also a great week for Severance stands.
Yes.
So Adam was really good.
I mean, Adam's great. Like, you can't knock Adam Scott. We've been Joyce. We don't need to talk about the drama now. Maybe we'll do this next week. But people are mad that we didn't give Adam Scott and Severance enough of shine when we were talking about the drama shows. I mean, Adam Scott would be great. I think if he won,
last week
Emmys.
or
whenever we were talking about it, people were like, "You guys don't really seem to take Severance seriously as even though it's a front runner." I'm like, it's a front runner.
And when we were talking about Pedro, when we spoiled Pedro dying.
Yes. Oh yes, of course. That was 2 weeks ago. And I was like, yeah, no, it's great.
I mean, anyway, he wasn't first.
I love Adam Scott. He's great.
He's not at first anymore.
No, Wiley's
he's been dethroned from first place.
Which maybe is how it's going to go. But anyway, is Adam Scott on Jean Smart
potential double nominee? Adam Scott.
How is this is one of the things. How is the studio going to really coordinate these guest potential nominees?
That they have so many, so it will be interesting to see what who they will submit on their own.
And who do you think they should submit on their own?
I think they'll definitely do Brian.
So Bryan Cranston makes a ton of sense
And
because he's like
Marty.
almost, yes. And Marty makes a ton of sense.
They could do
So
Ron.
that's 2. And Sarah Polley got a lot of shine
Yes.
for her episode. So I feel like she'll get submitted. I think you can make a case for Adam also.
Yeah, especially just because in the Apple Sam,
What about Zoe Kravitz?
Yeah, because I think like she has like an actual like storyline on the
Yes.
show,
And Dave Franco. Those are the ones I would highlight. Dave Franco's coming up. I don't care if that's a spoiler. He's in the show. They've talked about it on the interviews.
Well, she was also in that fake movie.
Yes.
That's it.
So Dave Franco, I would also consider as a potential. Everyone else, no disrespect.
They can submit on their own.
They can submit on their own. Is James Marr going to submit for this? I don't think so.
No. Is Kristen Bell going to submit for her 90-second cameo on Hacks?
Probably not, but she does have a very clickable face, Joyce.
She does. But, Jimmy Kimmel has custody of her. So
Will Ted Sarandos submit for the studio?
No.
Parker Finn?
No.
I don't know. Maybe. But I feel like the main people that we mentioned are really their focus. And again, like Last of Us, they could dominate. Like, I could definitely see a world where it's like Bryan Cranston, Martin Scorsese, and really Adam Scott all get nominated for the studio. And then, like, Zoe Kravitz and Sarah Polley make it in on the actress side.
I guess it's also how much do you think they think / care about these people just playing versions of themselves,
I don't think they care that much. I feel like, I don't know. It's a good question. I feel like they won't care that much because they're just it's such enjoyable appearances. I mean, like Scorsese, if he doesn't get nominated, I feel like that would be considered an upset to me. Like, people loved him on the show.
Actually, I would love to see that because everyone would just be stunned.
So mad.
That would be great. I want that to happen now, just for the outrage.
I'm sorry I put it out there.
I mean, assuming the Bear will be back in guest.
John Bernthal, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Olivia Colman.
Is SNL going to field anyone? Are they going to be shut out?
A lot of people they could pick. What were the big episodes of SNL?
I don't know. I don't watch SNL, so you tell me.
Joyce, I don't know. I gotta look.
Well, there's who was there? There's Ariana Grande. I know that this year. I mean, coming up, Quinta just hosted, right? And coming up, there's ScarJo, Walton Goggins this weekend.
You could do Mulaney again, Ariana Grande, Martin Short, Nate Bargatze.
Emmy host. Nate
certainly
Bargatze.
Any of these people could be in there. It's tough. I feel like there's just so many options.
Also, I feel like SNL is just kind of like a filler nom for them.
Yeah, maybe. And with so many options here from these shows.
Ryan Gosling got it last year.
Right. But I feel like the studio has could really push through a bunch of people.
Christopher Lloyd could, not Christopher Lloyd, Christopher McDonald could get in for Hacks. He's in the finale. And
Melissa McCarthy maybe for Only Murders.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm excited about the studio, and like we said, the discourse is renewed. Show is renewed. I still have a number 2 behind Hacks for me, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. I just think it's going to be like it still remains like a big thing, I think, for the industry, if not the actual audience.
Yeah. And I mean, if those are the top 2, like they're basically tackling similar themes in very different ways. So it'll be interesting.
This, yeah.
I mean, it's quite obvious to anyone who you don't even need to watch the shows.
Yeah.
To realize this. So it'll be interesting to see like which one
this gets into.
They gravitate
we'll talk
towards.
more about this towards we get to the finale for Hacks or towards the end of the season for Hacks. But I do think there's a clear difference in the way they approach the industry, and that will tilt it towards Hacks to me.
And Hacks has already won, so it's like,
I mean, obviously that helps too.
I think the conversation would be very different had Hacks not won last year, because I think maybe people would be even higher on the studio.
I think so, right? That's a really good point, because I think like you would have been like, oh, the Bear won.
And we thought this would be Hacks' time,
and this could be Hacks' time, but what if actually the studio pushes through and the Hacks is not as good as season 3, which I think would be a common talking point. Like if it couldn't win with season, me, I would definitely be like, if Hacks couldn't win with season 3, which is the best season yet, how's it going to win with season 4, Joyce? And I'd be like out here stumping for the studio. But I know better because Hacks won. So
yeah, and Hacks is also not the type of show that's like an easy sell to the masses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you can definitely have an elevator pitch for the studio.
I
For normies,
actually convinced one of my friends. I was with them a couple weeks ago. Just a regular normie friend, Joyce. No, does not keeping up with the trends. And I was like, oh, you should watch the studio. It's really funny. Seth Rogen. And he was like, I talked to him like a couple weeks later, and he's like, I took your advice. I watched the studio. The episode was really funny. Martin Scorsese was really funny. I was like, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen, thank you. You could thank me. Send me an email.
One more viewer.
Another viewer on Apple.
That's why I got renewed.
Who knows? Maybe my friend pushed it over the top.
But yeah, I think it's easy to like you did with your friend, like sell the studio to someone to watch. Whereas I think it's a little bit more difficult with Hacks, and not just because it's about
women
and an older woman.
I was gonna say, I think that's the biggest difficulty for at least men. Like, hey, you got to watch Hacks. It's about an older woman and a young queer woman and their relationship together.
Yeah, and it's about like stand-up comedy and everything, and it's like, really? Okay, cool. I think you also see that in how it lost Ensemble at SAG, right, which is the most populous place, right? And even though it won everything else in the winter. So
interesting.
So I do think the conversation would be different had it not won last year.
But it did.
Right?
So now
it did. So now it's like you could
leader in the clubhouse. It's leader in the clubhouse. It's
still
be
there. But yeah, your other fave, Four Seasons. I know you were going to say.
Great. Oh, yeah. I was going to say that, Joyce. It's like you read my mind. It's so good. I love the Four Seasons. Another show I've talked to real people about, and people do like it. Though I do think for certain people in married millennials or even Gen X, it cuts too close to the bone, so they don't like it as much. But number one on Netflix. I was surprised by that. It toppled You, the final season of You.
Well, You's been out for 2 weeks now,
right? But still, like, I mean, you would think like a big final season. So Four Seasons, number one on Netflix. Nice job. And we could talk about the big another spoiler alert if you're still watching, because we're going to talk about the twist of the show, which is that Steve Carell's character dies. Joyce.
Hilarious. When I watched that, I was like, he just loves dying in car crashes.
He's died in so many shows.
And then my friend also watched the screeners like a couple days later, and then I just get a text. It was just like, why does Steve Carell keep dying in car crashes? I was like, well, at least you don't see this one.
The morning show, right? That was one. That he died in the Patient, right? Or was that the one?
He died in The Patient, yeah, but not in a car crash. Yeah.
And he dies here in a car crash. And I was like, it's way different than the movie. I interviewed the showrunners, not Tina Fey, but Lang Fisher and Tracy Wakefield, who are both very nice. And I asked them all about this, and they were like, one of the reasons that was part of the pitch was because people in middle age, it's not uncommon for somebody to die. You're going to start knowing people who die, who are dying.
I mean, people
young.
Die even younger. So
yes, so it's like people die young, and you're going to start knowing. Unfortunately, like your friends are going to start dying. It's a bleak concept for I think middle aged people to get, but like part of the show, and like that, it definitely was a big shock. I thought when I watched it, like I did not expect that at all. I thought the way it was handled was like really interesting, and it does really help set up the finale in a great way, because I think it really does bring everything about the show together.
Two,
which I would be surprised if they actually, with no insight. I kind of love that it just ends the way it ends. If they did a second season, I would be in because I like the cast and stuff. But it would be fine if they didn't.
I mean, like they are going comedy, which I think like everyone assumed it would go limited. Just because it was like the adaptation of the movie. And
we've heard Tina Fey do many interviews, Joyce, including on Amy Poehler, and I get the sense is she has taken the idea of like, I want to work with nice people in nice places, and so I think she would absolutely jump at a chance to do another season based on that. You know what I mean? So like, if there's another season, great, and I think it would be great. But if there wasn't, it would be also great. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. It's basically whatever Tina Fey wants to do, I imagine.
I mean, I'm not surprised that it's number one on Netflix because, like we've also said, and like Tina has said, like it's just like a nice, cozy, warm show to watch. I mean, like someone texted me the other day, like asking for recommendations to watch, and then was just like, I think I'll start the Four Seasons. Like, it seems nice. I was like, it is.
So let me ask you. So last week, you'll recall, I abandoned my boy. And I dropped Four Seasons for nobody wants this.
Everywhere.
Now I'm ready to bring it back.
Because it's number one on Netflix.
Well, I think one of the problems was like, even on Netflix, we talked about this, was like the visibility and coming in late. It's hard to gain momentum. But I do think this show has actually organically gained momentum. I do think it's like people are watching it. Like you said, it's a very easy watch. It's incredibly enjoyable. They've used cozy to describe it like many times. It just is a cozy watch. And I think when you have a bunch of other shows that are, obviously the dramas are incredibly heavy this cycle. And then even the comedies, like we were just talking about, like they're very funny, but they're like caustic comedy, I would argue. Especially the studio is like very a lot of anxiety and like Hacks.
The studio is like a bear sometimes.
Right. So you have that. And like Hacks 2 is like not a cozy show, I would argue. You know what I mean? Like I'm not watching this.
Yeah, like
Deborah
has a lot of bite.
And
they could have very serious scenes.
Yes. And so like the Four Seasons maybe has a lane of these new shows. I think Abbott is very cozy, I would argue. You know what I mean? Like that's like a nice comfort watch too. But so is Nobody Wants This, and it has the edge because it's the earlier one and the bigger hit. So I'm like, is What We Do in the Shadows just going to make it in because it's What We Do in the Shadows for this final season? Probably. But then can the Four Seasons generate enough momentum over the next few weeks to push out Nobody Wants This?
Or you could put them both in. You could drop. Why don't you drop some? Yeah, you could drop something else like Shadows or Shrinking.
I'm gonna drop Shadows.
Your
I'm dropping
favorite,
Shadows.
Shrinking?
I'm not dropping Shrinking. Joyce, come on, Shrinking rules. It was great. People loved it. I'll drop What We Do in the Shadows and put Four Seasons in. So stupid. And then for actress, so Poker Face is back too, right?
It is, yes. Today, as we're recording, with 3 episodes with 5 Cynthia Erivo's.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Future guest actress nominee Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah. And it's only eligible for its first 6 episodes because those are the only ones airing within the eligibility period. So
then who should I drop an actress to put Tina Fey in? Maybe I won't.
Do you have Natasha?
I do.
You could drop Natasha.
No, I'm not. I'm going to keep Natasha and Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell's clickable face is going to make it into the Emmys this year.
So you're going to have 4 seasons in series and any other above the line nomination?
I'm thinking Coleman Domingo, Joyce.
Instead of who?
Well, that's the choice. So right now it's instead of Ike Barinholtz. But what if it was Michael Urie?
Critics' Choice winner, Michael Urie.
So wonderful performance. Absolutely hilarious. I've interviewed Michael Urie. He is truly a nice human being. He seems very nice.
I'm assuming you have Harrison Ford.
I have Harrison Ford.
So it's like, is like Shrinking strong enough to pull 2?
That's what I was wondering. And maybe it's not at this point.
You're just trying to justify dropping him.
I'm dropping him and putting Ike in, and I'm keeping Coleman in. I actually think Coleman Domingo could get in, though. I think he's really great, and like he and Tina have such great chemistry too. He's great. It's a discovery because of the comedy. Would you agree with that? Don't you think though? Like he's not known for comedy, I would say. I mean, I guess certainly since he's become more famous. Yes. Okay. I think that's fair. So it's like a discovery factor, and he is the most beloved. I feel like there are a few actors right now at this present time who have more positive vibes around them in the industry than Coleman Domingo. And so I think he will get in for a variety of reasons, including the way he's incredibly funny and his chemistry with Tina is awesome. And then I think could just get in because he's so good too. So I'll do that. So I dropped Michael Urie. So Steve is going lead. My thought is this. Steve Carell is really great. I love Steve Carell. I think he's it's almost like when you put him on the show, it's an immediate, he's just a great, in that role, it works so well because I think you automatically have sympathy or some kind of empathy for Steve Carell, and playing a guy who's cheating on his wife and then dumps her. You need that because I do think he really sells, there's a world where that character is very one-dimensional and kind of sleazy fuck, right? And Steve kind of does that, but also makes you think well, I get his perspective at least. I do appreciate the way he's able to do that. And I think that his performance allows them to push the writing further too. So he's great on the show, but I don't have any room for him. I don't know. Who would you drop? I mean, I'm assuming you have the top 6. I have the top 6. 7th is Ted Danson. Steve Carell is in 8th. I would think most people would drop Steve Martin since he's already missed before. Instead of Jason, who's gotten in before. Yes. Jason, who's gotten in over Steve before. I mean, Steve has surprised before, he got
in for the morning show over Bob Odenkirk.
I would say, like, I do think he could get in. I don't think it's without reason that he gets in, but I'm not ready to go there.
I think the show needs, even though like it's obviously doing
It needs to do even better.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know if like lukewarm is the right word for it, because I feel like it has a negative connotation, and I don't mean it to sound negative, but I think it's just kind of like the discourse for it is like just kind of bubbling under the surface, you know?
Yeah, it's not like it's not a show that is it's not like there's not a lot of passion.
Yes. I think
people
like
are
if
not
you watch it,
making-
like you like it, you know,
They're not making like fan edits.
no, there are no like memes.
It's just very funny and like really good. So I'm not gonna put Steve in. We wanted to do I guess in terms of like we could go through. And we've already done that, Kira, because talking through this. But for comedy series, like I said, I stuck the 4 seasons in when Nobody Wants This. I assume you just have the top 8 with What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes,
that's the top 8. 9 is 4 Seasons. 10 is A Man on the Inside. 11 Poker Face. 12 Agatha All Along. Righteous Gemstones, Joyce, for the final season. Absolutely hilarious final season. I've been catching up on that show. My God, it's really good, but I don't think it's going to make it in.
they've never touched it before.
Yeah.
So it's difficult.
And then for actress, I also have the top 6, which I assume you do as well.
I do. It's like I have so many of just the top 6, which again, you know, I do not like. So
that's Jean Smart, Io Debris, Quinta Brunson, Kristen Bell, Natasha Lyonne, and Selena Gomez.
I think only the top 3 are safe, which is Jean, Io, and Quinta.
I think that's true, and I guess there's like a lot of depth behind them. Uzo Aduba, obviously, for The Residents.
Which is also like I guess like the 4 seasons kind of like The Residents, like
yeah,
they're
a
both
little
being
bit
well watched, but just not talked about a lot.
Yeah.
So
Catherine Hahn for Agatha All Along, Bridget Everett for Somebody Somewhere, Wendy McLennan Covey for St. Denis Medical, Tina Fey for 4 Seasons, Charlotte Gainsbourg for Etoile, Joyce.
Ooh, Etoile. She could dance her way up into the top 6.
Kate Hudson for Running Point, Rose McIver for Ghosts. So a lot of people. I think you're right. I think it's definitely flexible at the bottom. I'll stick with the top 6 though. I just don't know. I don't know why I would drop any of the bottom 3 at the moment.
I guess you could argue with Selena. It was like it was an easier field for her to get into last year, but I guess you could say that for this year too. I don't know, but
I also think like there's a little bit of like, especially with Emmy voters, once they're in, I just feel like she's
it's
in,
like
and
we saw you last year.
Yeah, like, oh, obviously I'm just going to vote for her again. You know what I mean? Like the issue for her was always getting that first nomination. I think now that she's gotten
and they won SAG,
she's going to be in. That's my take on it.
Kristen obviously has never been nominated before.
I just think she's so likable, such a clickable face, Joyce.
When are they going to make the live action Tinkerbell with her?
I don't know, but she's also great on the show. I mean, like I'm not a Nobody Wants This hater. I thought it was great. I absolutely loved watching it. So I thought it was like really fun. So I hope she gets in.
Yeah, and I think the show also just uses her skill set
really well.
Very well. Like I did feel bad like with The Good Place. Like by the end, she was basically the only person not nominated for the show. You know, but I think like with that, like she was the straight man on that show,
right?
You know, and this is a 2-hander with her and Adam.
If she had been nominated before, I think one of the reasons I was like reticent, at least earlier this season, to even have her in or like dropping her was because like she missed with The Good Place and it felt like she should have gotten in. But I'm like, I don't think it matters. I just think this is a different show that we know they watch. Like that we know people watch the show, whether it flopped in the Winter Awards or not. Like they watch the show, and few people are more visible, I think, in the industry than Kristen Bell. Like people love her. She hosted the SAG Awards.
Yeah, and then Natasha, I can see her missing if like Poker Face is just coming too late, even though obviously she got in last time for Poker Face, and Judith Light won guest. I don't know. It's like, I mean, I could see her missing for like Uzo, you know, like 3-time Emmy winner Uzo Aduba.
It's true, but I will say this: they've done a fantastic job of mobilizing Natasha. I feel like she's been already way out in front of this show's premiere, and like. It's not like they're not like hiding the ball or anything. You know what I mean? Like she's just been doing stuff for a while, I feel like. So
yeah. But I think it's also, you know, it's been 2 years since the first season too.
True.
And, you know, like the show didn't get into series last time.
No.
Either. So I guess it's also like, are they in or out on the show in general? Like, and then like, because it is coming so late, like, are they not going to have time to catch up?
Right.
And even if they want to. So I mean, I also remember, like, you know, she got in for Russian Doll the first year. And then I remember the anticipation for season 2, which also had a long gap in between. Right. And, you know, that season underperformed, you know,
Yes.
did not meet expectations. So I don't think Poker Face season 2 would have that same response. But because of the lateness, I can see it like falling through the cracks, especially with someone like Uzo on her heels, whose show has been out for 2 months already. And
then for actor, we just talked about this. I have the top 6, and I assume you do as well.
Again, just like, I don't like having chalk.
Let me ask you this: can Seth Rogen win Best Actor here? He's 4th in the odds. I just feel like that's not being updated.
I don't know. I mean, I have Martin Short in first, just
I do
because
too.
he won SAG, but I can see him not winning.
So I have Martin Short in first, but I have Seth in second.
Yeah, I think it depends on like how well the studio does overall, and I don't know, like maybe famous last words. Like I don't feel like they would go back to Jeremy.
Well, like I'll keep saying, like a broken record. I said it last week. I want to see how season 4 is. If it's great, I think they could go back to Jeremy. He was great in season 3.
They're like, listen, there's nothing wrong with any of the acting on the show.
Right. No, I mean though, I'm like, if 4 is great, people are gonna be like, I fucking love Jeremy Allen White. Like, why wouldn't he win again?
No, but like as I've said, I think it's more in general of the show itself, like the discourse around it not being a comedy that people have gotten permission to move on from.
But maybe they'll not move on from Jeremy, right? Maybe in acting, it's different. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't have him winning right now either. I have Martin Short in first as well, but I'm reserving the right to change my ideas here after the 4th season premieres. Supporting, I don't have chalk at all. And supporting actress, I don't. I have Hannah Einbinder, Janelle James, Liza Colón-Zayas, Sheryl Lee Ralph, Catherine O'Hara, and Meg Stalter.
I have Meg too. But I don't have Catherine.
So
I have Hannah.
Okay.
I have Hannah, Liza, Cheryl, Jessica, and Janelle.
So I dropped Jessica, which is heartbreaking because I've interviewed her. So obviously I wanted to pick her. And I
How
know
could
she
you betray her
at,
like this?
And I know she looks at the odds. When I interviewed her for the first season, she was like, I'm always checking the Gold Derby odds.
Wow.
And I was like, well, hopefully you get in. And then she got in as a surprise. It was totally unexpected. And then it was great. And then I interviewed her again for season 2, and she was incredibly kind. And
you've dropped her.
Time. I've talked to her. She's great. And I dropped her, which is maybe I feel bad about. But I feel like she was a surprise getting in for season 1, and maybe it'll be a surprise miss for season 2. I'm not sure how Megan Stalter is going to get in, though. So even if she doesn't get in, I still think there's other people who could get in above Jessica.
I mean, in Meg is still, she's like 10th here? What is this? Like Meryl is above her.
She's in 9th, I guess. Did I miscount? But Patti LuPone and Meryl Streep are both above Meg.
Yeah. So I put Meg in here as like a Hope Diction before I even watched the season. So I just kept her in here.
One of the things I'm worried about with her is like, I could see it being a polarizing character.
Yes, some people do not like Kayla.
And so if they don't like Kayla and they find her really annoying, nothing is going to change their minds in the season. Even though she's incredibly funny to me, it's not everybody's drink. And so, I'm going to have her in there until I don't. I kind of don't think it's going to happen, sadly, but I would love for it to happen because it should be so deserved. And I do think Hacks could expand because obviously the show is one last year. So I would love to see her get in. If I was going to pick somebody else, though, I might go Catherine Hahn for the studio, who's actually behind Meg right now.
In a double studio?
We watched the studio for way before it premiered, right? And I guess the thing that surprised me most about the response has been how widely embraced she has been. Like, people love her on the show. And I was like, it's a really funny, similar to Meg Stalter. It's very broad and like kind of, she's making a lot of choices. And so like, I was like, well, people actually find this really funny or annoying. And they've mostly all found it very funny. So I think she could get in, especially if the studio is
I do wonder
big.
if that is just love for Catherine Hahn in general.
I mean, maybe
actual love for the character.
Whatever it is, people do love Catherine Hahn. I do think she can get in. I would put her in over like Patti LuPone and Meryl Streep. No disrespect to those icons.
I mean, Meryl, is technically a guest star in season 4, but because of the new rule, she can't go guest.
And another person I would eye, which you'll laugh at me, is Abby Elliott, who was so good in that one episode of The Bear.
Ice Chips.
Great episode. Jamie Lee Curtis is a future Emmy win or nomination, right? Again, another win maybe, or another nomination. I don't know. I mean, like, if, again, we're all out on The Bear. I had her in for season 2 because it felt like she would get in.
I think everyone had her in for season 2, and then she was a shock snub.
She was shock snub, and no one's gone back to her at all. But I was like, I don't know. I think she could eat, like, just because she missed for season 2 doesn't mean she would miss for season 3. So I don't think she's...
No, but I think it's more of just how else The Bear has performed since then, you know? So...
I mean, she's behind, like, Laurie Metcalf and Chloe Fineman.
Listen, Laurie has gotten in for the Connors before.
I'm just saying. It seems like I would not bet against The Bear. So, I mean, we talked about this last year with Abby. I think we were all predicting her last year too, not just because The Bear was so big, but because she got that surprise Golden Globe nomination, right? Right.
So I was like, okay, she's in. And I mean, I had like 4 Bear dudes last year.
I know.
And then she missed, and then obviously she has the tape for season 3, but then the show lost, right? And then it did poorly in the winter, right? And basically Liza was the only nominee at Critics' Choice for the show completely. I mean, Jeremy won the Globe. He's three-peated, but I think that's because they don't watch TV and that like they didn't care about anyone else in the category. And yeah, like it was just like losing left and right in the winter. So I think like in a way they've also have moved on from the show, and then Liza has kind of become like the de facto representative for the show.
I get it.
So I mean, she like Abby is great in the episode, so I wouldn't be surprised if she got in.
I'm just because I feel like people are not even thinking of her, and I think that's
fail. True. But I guess I'm also not surprised that she is that low given how the show has performed.
Right.
So
and then supporting actor we just kind of talked about. I don't know, what do you have? I as I mentioned, I have Coleman Domingo now, and Ike Barinholtz, and Trop Michael Urie, Tyler James Williams, Paul Downs, and Moss Backrack and Harrison.
I have again chalk 6, which I do not like. So, but I don't know who I would replace anyone.
So with. 7th in the odds is Bowen Yang.
Yeah.
So if they added, I'm hoping they'll add an extra slot here. Do you think that we'll get that on the ballots, that the percentage will work and we'll get a 7th supporting actor nominee here?
Maybe. I mean, it went down last year because of the strikes.
Right. If that happens, obviously I'd have Michael Urie in. If that happened for the odds, Bowen Yang is still ahead of Coleman Domingo for Saturday Night Live. Hey, why not? People love Bowen Yang, but I'm going to stay with Coleman Domingo.
I mean, after Coleman is Brett Goldstein for Shrinking.
Fantastic performance. Not very funny. I mean, it's just a very serious, it's a completely opposite from Roy Kent, which I think is really a testament to how great of an actor Brett Goldstein is. But I'm not sure if he's like really load bearing a lot of the drama of the show in the 2nd season. So I don't know if he'll get in, but he would be great.
That would be like 3 Shaking guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Timothy Simons, I think, would be a great nominee also.
I love him and Justine Luke. They're great. The Loser Sibs. Paul Rudd.
No, I don't think so. He's great though.
Yeah, I mean, he would be, again, just like Meryl would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's actually eligible for guest because I think he's actually in 5. But I think like he feels more like a guest this season than he did last season. Obviously.
The two people I would love to see get more shine, Zach Galifianakis for Only Murders. I just thought was like really one of the funniest performances of the whole year. Like no one's predicting him, but my God, he was hilarious.
All 3 of their doppelgangers were great.
They were great.
Yeah.
But like Zach was the best, and he gets to do everything with Martin. And I was like, if Martin Short's gonna like win this, like I think he should be taken more seriously as a potential coattail nominee here, because
I guess also like, you know, last year the surprise was Only Murders and Acting.
Yes.
You know, with Paul. And then they made a comeback and guest too as well.
I just feel like maybe I'll end up putting him in at the end. He's buried in the odds. Like, you know what I mean? He's behind like Marcelo Hernandez, Chris Burbetti, Joe Locke, Lionel Boyce, Matt Bomer. So like, you know, it's just like, but man, he's so good. And I do think he has like a legitimate case to be made for a nomination. I'm just worried that it's a little out of sight, out of mind. And it's not like you're campaigning. You know what I mean? Nobody's campaigning Zach Galifianakis. So it's basically just like, if you watch the show and like love the show, I think you really loved his performance, I would gather. So if you're a voter, maybe you're like, oh my God, Zach was so funny, I got to put him in. But will you remember you love Zach on the show? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's also hard to like campaign guest. It's like they basically have to do it on their own if they want to, you know?
The other person I wanted to flag, which would not happen because then we'd have 4 shrinking nominees, and I've talked to him, so I'm a compromise, but Ted McGinley is just crushing it on shrinking. I've always loved Ted McGinley. The biggest fan. My entry point was him on Married with Children Joyce as Jefferson, but obviously like older people maybe know him from Happy Days, and
he's been on every show.
Boat. He's been on every show. He's got a great personal narrative because like he used to be considered a show killer, and like he talked about like how that really hurt his feelings and like made his confidence flag and like all these different things. He's done like SAG like acting like tribute like interviews, you know what I mean, like where they do FYC events. Anyway, he's great on shrinking. I think he's so funny. He's just a total pro, crushes all the material he's given, and it would be great to see him get nominated, but I don't believe that he will break out when there are so many other contenders from the same show who are in bigger, brighter roles. You know what I mean? Like he's a true supporting performance.
Yeah, and the show is not like a Ted Lasso.
No, but if he did get in by some miracle, it would be really good because he's so good.
I guess, I mean, you also just have one bear, right? I have one bear.
Just Eben.
Just Eben.
Who else would it be?
Lionel
Boyce. He's next in the odds. And then further down the list.
Maddie. Where's Maddie?
I mean, are they even on here? Like, let me see. Maddie is like towards the bottom. He's 4th from the bottom.
Oh my God.
Where's Oliver Platt is 5th from the bottom.
We had all 4 of them last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Maddie would get in, and obviously the fact stuff was the most polarizing part of season 3. And Oliver Platt, I don't think would get in just based on like the material on season 3. That said, the way at least in our predictions platform, people are just absolutely out on the bear. I don't know if it might be proven right, but I think it's too premature. That's what I say.
We're literally just talking about, like who
I know.
You wouldn't put either of them in.
I wouldn't put either of them in, but like they're 4th from the bottom. You telling me Maddie Matheson has a worse shot of getting nominated than James Austin Johnston, Omar Dorsey for Bookie?
I think it's just that no one is picking any of these people. Like they're all at 100 to 1.
I know.
It's not like any of them are at 95 to 1. They're all of these people are at 100 to 1.
They're all 100 to 1, but I'm like, man, come on. I don't know. Like some of these are like, I think should be higher.
Like Timothy Simons is the last person not to have 100 to 1, and he's at 64.
I know. All right. We'll wrap it there, Joyce. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We'll be back next week. What can we talk about then, Joyce? I think we could do some drama.
I mean, that'll be teeing up the big flashback episodes.
I know. So maybe we look at do a trek through drama, and then we could also talk a little about limited series. Been watching Sirens.
Your face.
Love it. All right. So tune in next week. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We'll talk to you then. Bye. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast. Like what you heard? Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Awards Magnet is produced by Andrew Merrill. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sikora. Please like and subscribe to stay on top of all the awards news and email us at slugfests@goldderby.com.